loud. Hello, hello, and welcome back to another interview during the Yes You Can virtual summit. I'm Ashley, so grateful to be back here with you today, and I have an amazing friend, Amanda Dahl. Oh gosh, she is just such a treasure. She is a Reiki master, founder of an organization that supports women and men with energy healing. And she's going to talk all about energy hygiene today and how we can better block out the noise, right? Stay more grounded and just navigate this crazy, chaotic world better. So, Amanda, welcome. I'm so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashley. It's always a pleasure.
Well, I'll have to clue you in, guys. We've been talking for like 30 minutes. We decided it was probably time to let everyone else in on the conversation.
Right.
But that is what happens when you are just connected with someone who you resonate with so much. And so we are going to just jump right in and get going. So Amanda, I would love to have you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you work with people.
Sure. Well, my name is Amanda Dahl, and my husband, Christopher, and I have an energy healing practice called Dahl Holistic Health. And the short version of our story is that both of us were sick for 18 years. We had no idea what was going on. We had gone to probably about 50 doctors apiece. And eventually, through our son's health journey, we discovered that all three of us had Lyme disease. This was back in 2013. And we started receiving treatments, and everything kind of plateaued, and we weren't really getting any further with our healing. So I had a massage therapist that came to our house in California. A really big thing is mobile massage, where the massage people come to your house. So this person came to our house and she was giving me a massage. And I think we all know what massage feels like and generally what a massage is like. Well, this massage was different. I was feeling like waves of warmth going through my body. I was seeing colors. Everything just felt really vibrant and amazing. And one of my biggest symptoms with Lyme disease was migraine headaches and brain fog. Like I would have conversations with people. I wouldn't be able to talk to people like we are right now. There were days where I couldn't remember names of people that lived in my house. It was really bad. And I felt this magical shift, and all of a sudden, all of my memories came back. It was literally that acute. And I said to her at the end of the massage, I know that that was a wonderful massage, but what else were you doing? And it turns out that she was doing Reiki energy healing on me at the same time that she was doing massage. Mm-hmm. So from there, I was like, okay, well, I would like for you to come every week to 2 weeks. I don't care about the massage. I want you to do that energy healing stuff.
Yeah.
And it really got us over the finish line between Reiki energy healing and biomagnetic therapy, which is using magnets for healing. Those were the two things that really got us over that finish line to remission and really changed our world, because after that we were like, you know what, we really want to learn how to do this so that we can go back in to the burning building and help everybody else who's still in there. Yeah. Because Lyme disease, if any of you have it yourself or know of anybody who has it, it is a debilitating chronic illness. But from there, we had, our Lyme people that were getting to remission were starting to tell other people and, oh, well, I have this other chronic illness. Can you help me with that? So our practice just kind of grew into helping people with chronic illness. And then it turned into working with people that were high achieving, burning out at their jobs. They needed energy healing. So it all just kind of ballooned from there. And we work with people only virtually at this point. COVID completely changed our business. So now we work with everybody virtually because everything that we can do, we do not need you in front of us in order to do it.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Let me ask this. How has it changed your life to be able to experience the process of healing that you have and then go back into just a system that doesn't always acknowledge the difficulty of getting fully well and help people start feeling better?
Yeah. So, everything that we do is complementary medicine, complementary health. So one of the things that we feel is, the system isn't perfect for sure. But we have figured out ways to navigate the system to help people to get that help that they need without feeling like we have to tear down the whole system and start over again. We have created a system of doctors that we can help people get in with, because Lyme disease, again, is a very complex illness. There seems to be a lot of division out in the world when it comes to treating Lyme disease because like if you have a heart condition, which I also have, there's a standard of care. You go to the cardiologist, there's an order to things of how they're going to do it. You know exactly what steps they're going to take. You can go online and say, I have this heart problem. What are the steps that the doctor will take to solve it? There is nothing like that for Lyme disease. There is not they call it a standard of care. There is not a standard of care for Lyme. So one of the most helpful things I think when people have any chronic health condition really is to work with a or a health coach on top of your physician. Because a lot of times you go in to see the physician, you have 20 minutes. They tell you, okay, this isn't working. Take these meds instead, and stop doing this, start doing this, and then you're kind of kicked out of the office and you're overwhelmed. One of the things that I do with people is I sit down and say, okay, what did your doctor say for you to do? And then we go through each thing. I've had whole appointments where I just help people organize a med box, like organizing their medications, organizing when to take their medications, because I'm trained to do that. I'm also an herbalist. So if they're on certain herbs, okay, don't take this herb next to this pharmaceutical. I think it's important for people to understand that there is a way to operate in the medical system the way that it is without frustration.
Yeah.
At least if you felt frustration up to now, I take that frustration away. There is a way to do all of this without feeling frustrated. And I think health coaching is the way to do that for a lot of people.
Amazing. And I think it's so helpful to share that perspective because, well, I think especially in the context of 2020, right? I think for every person, health and just overall physical, mental, emotional well-being has moved to the forefront of our lives. Like it's impossible to be living in today's world and not be thinking about how do I feel in my body? And I think that kind of moves us into the conversation that we're headed in today in terms of like energy and how we feel in our bodies. So for someone who doesn't have any maybe understanding of or just kind of connection to energy and energy hygiene, how would you explain that to someone? And not just explain it, but like how is it actually impacting your day to day?
Sure. Well, I think especially for people in the corporate environment, one of the biggest examples that I can give is if you've ever walked into the boardroom or that meeting in the conference room, and you can feel that there's something about to happen, right? We all get that feeling like, whoa, the energy in here is intense.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're sitting there and somebody walks into the room and they're boisterous and we call them larger than life, right? Their energy is huge. And it's like, some people are like, whoa, that is just way too much for me. Or other people thrive. They're like, oh, yay, that person is here. It's going to be a great meeting, right? Those are ways that energy affects us. Another way that you can feel when energy is affecting you is because we all have an aura. We all have kind of a bubble of energy around us that we call it personal space. For those who aren't in the world that I live in, we call it our personal space. So if you've ever remember the days where you could go at the grocery store and people could stand right behind each other and you'd have that person
Strange times.
I know. Think back. I know it was a really long time ago, but if somebody was standing, like it was almost like you could feel their breath on your neck and you'd feel like you had to step forward. That's an example of energy hygiene, right? You felt like you needed to do something to separate your energy space from somebody else a little bit. So you take that step forward. So the process of energy hygiene is recognizing and honoring the boundaries that you need for your own energetic space. Some people describe themselves as empaths, right? Where you can read the room, you can read people. Salespeople tend to be very good empaths. They can look around and they know, oh, I can sell this person this thing and this thing. Other people, we're quietly sensitive and we're like, oh my gosh, that person looks really sad. I know that something's going on. Those are all examples of ways that we can use energy hygiene to help in those situations, because the main reason why you want to develop an energy hygiene practice is because you don't want to take on other people's emotions.
Yeah.
Because if you start taking on everybody else's emotions, it weighs you down and contributes to what we're talking about today, which is burnout.
Yeah.
Burnout. So much of the burnout that we feel, it's not necessarily our own energy, it's the energy of everybody else that we're carrying with us.
Wow, that is a really powerful explanation. And it's interesting, former salesperson here. I can totally relate to going into those corporate spaces, just meeting spaces in general, and like reading the room and being able to say, oh, this is the vibe you get with this person, and then this person, and then this person. And you recognize how, I think if you have some degree of self-awareness, you recognize how your interactions with those people make you feel. Like you leave the interaction and you're like, I feel a little bit drained, or I feel a little bit depleted. Or, to the contrast, I feel really excited. I feel vibrant. I feel alive. And I think being able to notice what is draining you versus what's actually energizing you is so critical. So tell us, like, what does this process look like if we understand for ourselves, oh, there's definitely situations where I'm more energized or not, or I feel like I'm taking on a lot from other people. If we want to develop a practice that allows us to better kind of navigate this process for ourselves, what would that look like?
Sure. Well, there's a 3-step process that you would use to do energy hygiene. And this is something that when I'm working with clients, almost all of them, I end up teaching them energy hygiene almost right off the bat, because such an important part of healing and keeping ourselves in a safe space within ourselves is to not take on other people's things, right? So the first step of the 3 steps is centering. So it's very important. And I tell people, do this right away when you wake up in the morning. Don't pick this up first thing in the morning. This should not be the first thing that you do. The first thing that you should do is go to the bathroom. And then before your bed cools off, jump back in for a few minutes and give yourself a good 15, 20 minutes to lay there and just let yourself think about whatever you want to think about. We don't give ourselves enough time to think. We're always, running from one thing to another, especially if we're in a corporate space, right? You have goals that you need to meet. You have, like we were talking about, Ashley, that dashboard that you've got to follow all day of the things that you've got to do. You've got a schedule with every minute planned out. We don't give ourselves time to think. So part of that centering process is when you get up in the morning and you hop back into bed, just take a few minutes. Okay, what do I want my day to look like? You are the one that has control over what you want your day to look like. Sure, you might have things that are going to go on that might feel like they're going to be challenging, but what attitude do you want to carry into that event? What personal power do you want to put out into that interaction? And really put yourself in that space and allow yourself to feel it. That's going to put you in that moment and give you your personal power, so that you don't feel like you're starting your day kind of going, from the frying pan into the fire, that expression, right? Where we're running and we don't even have a moment to think about it. So just take some deep breaths, center, allow it to play out a little bit. What do you want that interaction to be for each part of your day? Okay.
That is so powerful. And here's what's amazing is almost every single interview that I've done for this summit has talked about the practice of grounding, finding a place of stillness,
Mhm.
allowing yourself to disconnect from the technology and give
Mhm.
yourself a moment to pause and just be. Because to your point, we're so busy, moving from thing to thing to thing. And, in the world we live in now, sometimes it's like I'm in a meeting, I'm hopping off a meeting because I'm helping my kid with their schoolwork, and then I'm making
Right.
lunch, and then you're hopping back into another meeting, and so it's just boom, boom, boom. And often we get to the end of the day and we're so drained, but
Mhm.
we never set ourselves up at the top of the day to really anchor ourselves into something and set some sort of a clear intention for the day.
Right.
So such a powerful practice. Please
Right.
continue.
Absolutely. Well, and the second piece to this process, and again, I tell people do all of this right in the morning to start your day, is to ground yourself. And, a lot of people are like, oh, put your feet in the sand and, light candles, do incense, all of these different things. My favorite way to ground is to actually connect with my body. And how I do that is I cross my arms and I put my hands on my shoulders and I give myself a hug. And then I squeeze my way down my arms. Okay. Squeeze my way down my arms. And I take this process much slower than I'm doing it here. Okay. And then I put a hand on each hip and I squeeze my way down my legs. Okay. All the way to the bottom of my feet. And I do this while I'm still in bed. Okay. And what this process does so often, because we have two things going on in our body. We have our physical body, but we also have our energetic body. Some people call it the soul. Okay. And how many times have we said, oh, I feel so disconnected, right? Because a lot of times our energy starts to go out of our body. Some people call it, I feel depersonalized. I don't feel connected to anything.
Yes.
Sometimes if people have pain in their body, they will disconnect themselves energetically from their body because the pain is just too great. And that's not just physical pain. That might be if you're grieving, if there's something that's going on that is so intense that you just can't handle it, you will depersonalize yourself. But part of being able to heal and move through those things is to be grounded. So I like the practice of actually doing something physical because it makes the energy reconnect to the physical body. And take a moment after you do that to just say, okay, you should be able to feel the sensation of everywhere where your hands just touched. That tells me, okay, my energy is coming back into my body and I'm really grounding in. And then, of course, you can jump back for a moment to the first piece, which was the centering. Okay, how do I feel about all the things I was thinking about to center? How do I feel about it now? You might find that you ground even deeper into that and you start to develop this comfort level with how you want your day to be and how you feel about yourself, right? This connects you to yourself. So often we don't give ourselves time to connect with ourselves, which leads us to the third piece.
Okay.
I call it cloaking. Okay. You can, sometimes people that are Harry Potter fans will be like, oh, I know all about cloaking, right?
Okay.
Okay. Cloaking is thinking about your aura or your personal space, right? And taking and just kind of putting like a bubble around that and creating a sense that the energy that is around you, that is your own energy. That is your own safe space. So then what I do is I put my hands on my heart and I say, okay, what am I feeling inside my body? Now, all three of these pieces that I'm teaching you go together. So I encourage you as you're doing each piece, go back and reflect on the other pieces. Okay, I've got this beautiful bubble around me. It is my protection. What do I want in it? And when I put my hands over my chest, I allow myself to scan my body and feel, are there any areas where I can feel tension? Even after doing the grounding exercise, sometimes it will make those areas of tension really stand out. Like, oh, I know that I did the squeeze technique down my arm, but I'm feeling a lot of tension on my arm. Maybe your shoulders are raised, right? Because you're so full of tension that your shoulders are very close to your ears. That's not a good thing, right? Because then you get that upper back pain, that neck pain. Okay, I'm going to breathe into that, and I'm going to let my shoulders go down a little bit, and then use your breathing to let your shoulders go down a little bit. And that information that you're gleaning in your brain about why your shoulders are raised. Oh, I know that I have that meeting today that I'm really not looking forward to. Okay, play it out. What's the worst that's going to happen in that meeting? And does that have anything really to do with you? Can you control that somehow? Can you regain your energetic sovereignty to say, you know what? I really don't have to worry about that. It's not going to cost me my job. I'm not the one that's going to have to complete that, right? And try to let some of that tension go and push it outside of your bubble, right? So that everything inside your bubble, you're responsible for, you're comfortable, you're safe, you're creating a safe space for yourself. And the thing that I like most about the bubble analogy, because I've been using this now for so many years, is if I detect, like, go back to that example I gave earlier where you're sitting in the conference room and here comes that really boisterous energy. Maybe that's not your jam at all. You can say, okay, I can deal with that, but I'm not going to let that into my space. I'm going to kind of let it bounce off, right? Imagine that that energy is bouncing off. You're not taking that on. You're just in your space, nice and chill. Like, okay, I can let all that freaky stuff that's going on stay outside of my bubble. I don't have to take it on. And you'll find that maybe when that person came into the room, you used to go like this.
Yeah.
Now you're not doing that so much. You're just sitting there and you're barely reacting because you've got that nice bubble of personal space that's protected around you. And feel into any of the energy that you don't like that's inside that bubble with you. Can you send it out? What do you need to do to send that out? Sometimes it's just a matter of literally, like, I'll oftentimes just make like a grabbing motion and just send it out. So for me, I'm a very kinetic person. I like to do things to lock it into my brain. Oh, I removed that energy. I pushed that energy out. Anybody can do these things. It's all a matter of just, looking at what you're working through, what's your day going to be like. I start my day by doing this every day. And then I feel like my energy is my own, my space is my own, and I make the choice about what I want to affect me. And a lot of times during the day, I'll think about all three pieces. Am I living in alignment of my centering process? Am I living in alignment with what I did to ground myself? Am I living in alignment with what I'm doing for my own energetic protection? If anything is out of alignment, I change it
What
to
I love about
energetically strengthen myself.
No, what I love about what you've shared, a couple of things. Number one, I guess I would say this really feels like an opportunity to reclaim some agency, because
Yes.
how often do we go throughout life and we go throughout our day and it just feels like we are being tossed and turned and almost like a leaf blowing in the wind,
Yes.
kind of taking on all of the energies and picking up on all of the things that other people have in their space, and we're not even always conscious of that. So I feel like, one, this is a great way to really reclaim some agency, but also it's a challenge to become more self-aware. It's a challenge to really start looking within and learning how to tune into ourselves, what we need, and listen to what our body is telling us. And so I guess I would ask, if somebody's watching this and they're like, that sounds good, but I could touch my body and not have any idea what that is supposed to be telling me. What advice would you give, like, to someone who's brand new, who's like, this sounds like a process I need, but how do I start to integrate that for myself?
Well, I would say practice it. I mean, this isn't like a one day and you're a pro at it and everything's great and your life is perfect. This takes time to do this. Now, what comes up for a lot of people, especially people who have been stuck for a long time, like if you are a high performing person and you have felt like you kind of plateaued, you want to move to that next level. One of the things that I work on with my clients, we do these exercises, but then we learn to decode. Okay, what is the body telling you? You have felt this tension in this one area of your body. Let's look at what that is talking about. And then we start decoding. Like, for example, people that have a lot of problems with their digestion, right? A lot of times there's some trust issues there. They're not trusting the flow of life. They can't let things flow through them, right? Or maybe they have a lot of problems with their liver. Like maybe they've got like a punky gallbladder, or their liver gets, distended, or it gets hard. Well, we hold a lot of anger in those two organs, right? So we start exploring that. Okay, where did this anger come from? Right. And then we start, a lot of times I'll do some energy work on the client while we're doing this so that we can start releasing some of that energy from the energy field. And that's a whole conversation for another day. But part of what I do is I teach my clients, okay, let's identify the tension that keeps on happening in a given area of the body. Let's decode it. What is the body telling you? Okay, now how do we release it? Now, for every client, that could be something very different. Some people, it's a matter of having a conversation with somebody who hurt them, and they work through that and that tension goes away. Other people, maybe they don't have that luxury. Maybe that person is no longer in their life, or they've passed away, or something where they can't have that conversation. Okay, then maybe let's look at some other things that we can do. Like I have all sorts of tools in my tool chest that I share with people, but ultimately it's all about bringing people to a place where at some point down the line they've got those still skills to say, oh, I know what this is and I know why this is happening, right? Because I want my clients to be able to move ahead, move away from the tension, the anxiety, the stuck feeling, and be able to live a more productive life and be able to continue to level up in a way that feels comfortable for them. And that's what I work on with clients.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point, and it's just that we're never arriving at a destination. Like
No.
it truly does have to be a practice and a journey, because no matter where you're at in life, there are going to be things potentially that can act as stressors. There are
Yes.
going to be things that can activate you and, kind of pull your energy in different ways. And so having some sort of practice or resource or tools that you're using on a consistent basis to help you navigate just what is the day-to-day life, I feel like is it's so helpful. And I guess what I would add too is just this idea of, social media, right? I mean, I know I'm not the only one who can sometimes go down the scroll, and scroll and scroll and scroll and look and look and look, and then walk away from an experience like that 15 or 20 minutes later, and you feel a bit out of sorts. How do you think social media, plays a role in energy and energy health and energy management? And does this practice support someone if they're maybe not interacting with a ton of people right now, but it's largely through some sort of a device?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. Social media is that double-edged sword, right? Because it can make us have those little bursts of, is it serotonin, right? Serotonin that, oh, I feel really good. But then by the end of our experience sitting on a device, we're like, maybe I don't feel as good as I thought I did. So my suggestion for social media, and I'll share what just happened to me on vacation. We all have our Instagram pages or, Facebook, whatever it is that is our chosen media source. And of course, there's an algorithm that goes along with that. So I would say this, I learned over vacation if something isn't bringing you complete joy, you can hide somebody from your feed. You can still follow them, but you can hide somebody from your feed so that you don't have to look at their stuff. you care about that person. And maybe there are times where you want to choose to go to their page to look at whatever it is that's going on, but make it so that that is your choice, so that you're not being inundated when you're doing the scroll of seeing all of these things that aren't contributing to your mental health in a positive way. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month, which is when we're recording this. So this is especially important information right now. Follow accounts that bring you joy. And of course, and I know a lot of times this is easier said than done, but set some kind of limit to how long you allow yourself to scroll. And I'll share with you this, I really use this. This is a little timer box.
Yeah.
Okay. You can buy them all different time lengths on them. But if I'm going to go on Instagram, 15 minutes, okay, you set the timer. There's a little window that shows you how long you have left. I put it down. I allow myself to go on there, and then that's it. Now, at the same time, I've curated my feed, so it's things that I really like to look at.
Yeah.
So like I look at Ashley's feed, I look at a couple of other friends' feeds. I love the national parks. So all sorts of things for the national parks come in, traveling, right? Things that make me happy, things that bring me joy. Those are the things that I put in my feed. Now, if before the end of the 15 minutes, I come to that little line in Instagram where it says, you're all caught up.
What is that a sign? You shouldn't ask it to refresh.
Exactly. I don't keep going, because then it's going to show me things that really have nothing to do with me personally. I don't have a personal stake in those things.
So good. That's so good. Yeah.
So I put it down. Does it take some practice? Yes. Are there nights where I'm like, I want to look at guinea pigs a little bit longer. Yeah. I love looking at guinea pigs. I think they're the cutest things on earth. I'm going to go on this guinea pig page just a little bit longer because they're so darn cute. Then I allow myself to do that. But for the most part, especially during my work day, like if I'm taking one of those little breaks, I use my little cube. Okay. You can get on any Amazon or, any of those online places. I think it's like $15.
No, that's super helpful. I'm thinking I have Alexa's in my, I don't want to say the name too loud because I have one sitting next to me, and she'll type out, but I'm just like, can you set a 15-minute alarm? So I'm just like, oh, that's such a just smart, strategic way to give yourself time and space to do something that you enjoy, but also agency and control, so that you're not inundating yourselves with things that don't make you feel good. And then, later on in the day, carrying around all this negative energy, and you're like, gosh, where did that come from?
Right.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to put the devices down for, a day. Like we have it one day a week where like usually it's on Sunday, where I don't allow myself to pick up my phone until the evening. And that's only for my own sanity, because I just want to take a peek into what am I going to be thinking about during my energy hygiene process on Monday morning, right? So it's like, okay, what emails have come in? Are there any messages that I need to respond to? And I just do that as a way to like prepare myself mentally for my week a little bit. Yeah. And then on Monday morning, when I'm doing my energy hygiene, I'm like, okay, I know that I've got those emails to address. This is how I think I'm probably going to respond to that. It's especially good if you get an email that maybe it raises the blood pressure a little bit and you need some time to think about it. Yeah. But Sunday, I don't typically do any emailing or those sorts of things until later in the evening. And, when you're on vacation, definitely set whole days, like strings of days where you're not touching devices. It really is great for your mental health to take a break as much as you will allow yourself to.
No, and I would just second that. I mean, I recently gave myself, 5-6 weeks off of social media. And largely my preferred place is to show up on Instagram. So I don't spend a ton of time other places unless I'm there for a specific reason. But I did it recently, and man, it just makes you just don't realize how much you're sometimes taking in when you're consuming the content and watching other people and making comparisons between them and yourself, and picking up on all the energies that are kind of out there in the interwebs. So it makes a really huge difference. And when I was able to come back this week, I was able to come back with such a refreshed perspective and just renewed sense of energy. So it definitely does make a big difference. So we could keep talking forever just because that's
Right.
who we are. We could keep chatting. But let's wrap this up. And what I would love is just for you to tell people what is the best way to work with you if they want to be connected and just in your community, learning more about the services that you offer. How would people do that? What's the best way?
Yeah, the best way is on my website, which is dahlholistichealth.com, and it's DAHL and holistic with an H because some type it with a W. So dahlholistichealth.com, I offer a free 30-minute call. So if people are curious about what we could do together, because I offer a lot of different energy healing services beyond Reiki and magnets. I also do tapping and health coaching, nutrition work, all sorts of things, because they all tie into your health. So, that 30-minute call is a great place for us to be able to get to know each other a little bit and say, okay, let's make some sort of a care plan so that we can do that. And then if people want to follow kind of what's going on more of a day-to-day basis, then Instagram, my handle is Dahl Holistic Health. You can see all sorts of things that we have going on over there.
Amazing. Yeah. And you do a lot of great Instagram series, like where you're interviewing other experts and just having really great dialogue. So I know you do that regularly and are just always sharing valuable content. And what I guess I'll say this, back in 2017, when my dad was in the hospital, I learned so much about the healthcare system, so much. And one of the biggest takeaways that I had during that time, that my family had during that time, is just being able to advocate for yourself and know we're within the system and we got to work within the system, but medical professionals are practicing. And so sometimes you have to trust yourself and your own intuition. And one of the things I love most about the content, especially on Instagram, that you share, is that it really encourages you to be an expert on yourself and to advocate for what you need and, advocate for just your overall well-being. So I love that you share so much content around that, in addition to, the energy work and, the support around chronic illness. So lots of great shares. Well, Amanda, it has been a pleasure, my absolute joy, to connect with you today. And thank you so much for your insight and your wisdom and just your good energy. It's been so wonderful to have you with us, and I can't wait to do this again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashley. And thank you to everybody that's watching.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.